Hey babes, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya and today's video is all about Love is Blind season 3. I literally want to talk about this in this video and then I never want to talk about it again. Just a quick disclaimer. These are my thoughts. These are not necessarily your thoughts. These are my opinions. These are not necessarily your opinions. If you disagree with me, that's fine. But we can have a respectful conversation and also disagree with one another. So let's get like the unproblematic people out the way. Alexa and Brennan, love them. I feel like Alexa and Brennan, they're not exactly the Cameron and Lauren, but they're like the closest to Cameron and Lauren I think we'll ever get. They're pretty unproblematic. Their relationship is really cute. I really like Alexa. I like her style. I like her makeup. Like Alexa, she's that girl. Like she's real cute. Brennan, also a really nice guy, like super open. Love them together. I think they're definitely gonna last. Except for the unproblematics. Let's get into everybody else. Colleen and Matt. Okay, I have such mixed opinions about them. Like I high-key think that Colleen got on the show and like really wanted to find somebody, but she got super desperate. Like she was so upset by so many guys, and then like all of a sudden she was like so into Matt, and that might be due to editing, but it gave desperate. I'm not saying she's desperate. I'm just saying it gave desperate. I said what I said. I think that she probably shouldn't have been on the show because she said she wasn't willing to like go deeper. And how do you build like a long-lasting connection without wanting to like actually go deeper? And I just think that she wasn't ready. I also couldn't stand how she kept talking about her being a ballerina. Like girl, nobody cares. So I don't think she's a bad person or anything. But I also feel like the conversation that she had with Cole and the pool was inappropriate. I feel like they gave Cole a lot of it, you know, and I think they should have, but I do think Colleen could have got a little bit more heat from it. And I think the only reason that she didn't get more heat at the reunion is because of the way that Matt reacted on the show. Okay, I definitely think that Matt blew things completely out of proportion. I think that because of his previous relationship and like how he dealt with cheating, I feel like that's his one thing that he just can't take. And so I feel like he was really afraid of falling in love again and being with someone that did the same thing, which I think is understandable. I also think that Colleen should have been a little bit more cognizant of that, but was his reaction very extreme? It was bad. And I'm like, there were cameras. So what would have happened like if there were no cameras? You know, and they didn't address it on the show. And I know why they didn't address it on the reunion. You witnessed a lot of this, like, I mean, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and you just let it go. I think that's something that the Love is Blind production are gonna, like, they're gonna have to figure that out. They're gonna have to figure out how to deal with the emotional abuse on the show, because after season 2, it's been a lot, okay? I think that Matt has some serious issues that he needs to work through. I also don't think that he should have been on the show. I think that he needed a lot of therapy and he needed a lot of work, like working on himself. Like you can't be closed off for people, like from women and from like relationships for years and years and years and think, oh yeah, like I'm just gonna hop into a relationship, like a marriage. With someone I just met. I think it's super unrealistic. I don't think he should have been on the show. Them as a couple, I think that they got married. I don't think they should have gotten married. Their whole wedding scene was weird. I don't know what Colleen was gonna say. I just think that like Matt showed her over and over again that he was problematic and that they weren't ready for marriage, but you know, it's not a relationship. So at the end of the day, like they made those decisions as adults. I know a lot of people online were talking about her behavior, like her body language during the show. I did pick up on that. I don't know exactly what that was. I'm not gonna make any assumptions about that because I don't think that's fair to do to her or to Matt or like anybody involved, you know? But what I will say is that I did pick up on her body language, and I think that given what was going on in the show, I'm a little concerned about that, and I hope that they figure that out. I wish the show would have done more to like talk about what happened and like how explosive Matt was on multiple occasions, but they chose not to. Raven and SK. Okay, I was one of the people that was like, Raven is on here to promote her being a Pilates instructor. Like you cannot convince me otherwise. I didn't see the connection between her and SK at all. Like I started to see their connection a lot more like for the honeymoon, and I thought they were cute. Like I like to see the way that Raven interacted with his mom, with SK's mom and his family. And I feel like I picked up on some of those vibes about like, you know, Raven's family and like her upbringing and stuff. But I feel like she shouldn't be punished for that, you know? She's not her family. And I can understand why it was a big deal to SK, but I feel like it was a little unfair. I also I'm glad that they did not get married, because I do think that making like a marriage work when y'all just met and one of the partners is leaving for like 2 years, I think that's a lot. I think that what they did was smart. It's not the point of the show, but I mean, I'm glad that they're happy, and I think that if they continue, they could have like a very like healthy relationship. And so I'm excited to see where they go. I also like Raven a lot more after watching her TikTok. She's really funny. I like how her personality like is showing through the reunion, and on TikTok, like I started to see her personality more, and it was like really sweet. And also seeing like all the women and how they interact, so sweet. Let's talk about Bartise and Nancy. I have been waiting to talk about Bartise. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Bartise is trash. Basura. I saw through him from the very beginning. He should never have been on the show. Looks are incredibly important to him. He was way too mature. Like, I don't even, like, sometimes things do have to do with age, but like, it's a maturity thing. Like, you have to work through some stuff to be able to, like, you know, do an experiment like this and to like be ready for marriage. And he was not ready for marriage by any means. The way that he treated Nancy after he saw Raven, I was completely flabbergasted. I can't believe he sat there and told his fiance that another woman looked like a smoke show, and that basically he like was trying to tell her like, I had feelings for both of y'all. Like, and low-key like still do. It was just like, it was appalling. I'm not gonna lie, because you were just so into Nancy. You see how Raven looks, and now you're so into her. And they had no emotional connection. Raven didn't want anything to do with Bartise, like from the very beginning. And he was like, oh my gosh, can we talk about how he put like the dollar bills in her room? That was disgusting, because she told him that she was a bottle girl. Like, that's something that she shared with him because she was being open and honest, and he tried to cheapen her. Hate that. Hate that. I feel like I wish Nancy would have left him earlier, but I understand that like she had this emotional connection and she was really rooting for their relationship, but he treated her so badly. Like, very similar, we'll get to Cole in a little bit, very similar to the way that Cole treated Zanab. But Bartise, I mean, he was a little I guess more kind, but he was very like constantly telling her that he wasn't physically attracted. He didn't want to do any of the physical stuff with her, and that's so confusing because you just slept with her. And he was just like very emotionally unavailable. Shout out to Nancy. I really like Nancy. I feel like Nancy had a great personality. She was beautiful. I loved her family. I loved how hardworking that she was. I feel like she was a great catch, and she was a great person to be on the show. I feel like she was someone who opened her heart and her mind, and she was ready. She just unfortunately got paired with horrible people. Like Andrew, sick, okay, and then Bartise, terrible. Like, I'm so sorry to Nancy, because Nancy, she was great. I love Nancy. I love Nancy's family. Even when Bartise met Nancy's family, I just could tell how Nancy's family get down, and I like them. Like, they stick up for their own, you know? He was like, why you like my sister? And his answer was bland. Just like her brother said, his answer was bland. It had nothing to do with like real traits about Nancy. It was all about himself. And I like that the brother like was honest with them. Like the brother was like, I'm not feeling you. I'm not feeling you. And I like at the wedding, oh my gosh, I knew Bartise was saying no. I did. And I agree with her brother. I was like, why would you do all of this? Why would you do the entire wedding and then you knew you weren't gonna say yes? Like, why did you keep pushing through like weeks? I feel like weeks and weeks and weeks before he knew he wasn't going to marry her. So I don't know. I hated that. I hated that his whole reasoning. His relationship with his sister is weird. weird. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, search Bartise and his sister. That's all I'm gonna say on that. It was weird. Nancy met Bartise's family. That was weird. I feel like he was super uneducated about abortion, which I find as like an extremely red flag. Like, sleep with women. Like, why aren't you a little bit more educated about abortion and about like women's bodies and their choices? Like, I hated that. I feel like he handled the conversation in the best way that he could. I just think that it was lacking in a lot of ways. And I think that he was like very stuck in his ways and he didn't hear her at all. I think that Nancy has real experience about these topics. I also don't think it was serious enough for them to like, for him, I don't think it was as big of a deal as Bartise made it to be. They are like so far away from that and they don't know how they're gonna like change and work together. They don't even know if this is gonna be an issue for them. So it's cool that they talked about it, but did it need to be like as big of an issue as it was? No. Did it need to be brought up to their family? No, that was absolutely ridiculous. Bartise wanted his family to dogpile Nancy and for them to be like, oh yeah, that's why we don't like her. They got a weird family dynamic going on there. It's real weird. I said what I said. I love how Nancy's family went to war for her. Like, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for her family to get mad. Like, why you bring us out here? Like, that's what I was looking for. That's TV that I want to see, okay? That's what I was looking for because that's how I would have felt too. Like, you're making a mockery, like a fool out of all of us. If you knew you was gonna say no, like we been knew, you knew. Why did you do all of this? Because they could have stopped. Like, we've seen seasons, like in season 1, with Diamond and I cannot remember his name, but with Diamond, they cut it off. Okay, they could, those couples could have easily done that. So I don't understand. I think that Nancy's family were right. They wanted to tell him about himself. I think that he was super disrespectful. I think Nancy was a little disrespectful to her family too. And I get it's because Nancy wanted to hear him out and Nancy wanted to like say her piece. But I feel like the way that she shunned her family out was wrong because her family was like genuinely looking out for her. And Bartise was wrong. That man was wrong. And I feel like also Nancy obviously didn't know all of the things that we know because, you know, we are outsiders. We are seeing it as it plays out. She's like actually living it. So I will definitely give her grace. But I loved her response. Her response to him was chef's kiss. It was exactly what I was hoping for. She was like, no, we're not gonna do a relationship after. Like, absolutely not. Like, this was your opportunity to show me that you're really that you're really ready to commit to a serious relationship with me, and you chose to not work things out. Yeah, Nancy's answer was like, great. She was like, the man that I love gave me stupid reasons. And he did. He gave her stupid reasons. It was just, he was ridiculous. I knew very early on that she was way too good for him and he needed a lot of work. And I think that Nancy does need a bit more work on herself because she was so willing to accept the issues that Bartise had. And I understand why, you know, when you love someone, but at some point you have to, like, you know, read the writing on the wall. So that's what I have to say about them. I do not like Bartise. Cole and Zanab, the last couple. I waited for them to be last. I have a lot of thoughts. The way that Cole treated Zanab on the show was horrible. And we all watched it and we were all like, Zanab deserves better. Now, whether people like Zanab or not, honestly doesn't matter. But we watched him like ruin her confidence on camera. Like, some of the questions that she asked obviously are like leading. And I think it was her way of like asking for reassurance. And I think that she could have done it in a better way. At the end of the day, the way that he responded to it was like problematic. Like, you can be honest and not be cruel. And I think that there was like, I mean, the women on the show said it, a lot of the men had, or 2 men specifically, had difficulties understanding that, hey, I'm engaged now. So all that dating, all those conversations are inappropriate now. And I don't understand how you didn't understand that when you got on one knee, but whatever, okay. I feel like it was like more than just the questions that she asked. Like, it was the way that he treated her. It was the way that he gaslit her. And he like would say that she was bipolar. Like, that's not cool. Or like he would say she was being passive aggressive when actually she was being very confrontational. Her saying, can you pick up after yourself, is confrontational. That's her literally communicating her needs. And I do understand when people are like, she's a little cold. Okay, I could see that. But he knew she was cold. He knew she was dry. He knew that. He knew that. And was there like a difficult transition between the pods and a person? Yeah, but when you saw who she was and you realized that that wasn't the person that you wanted, you should have let her go instead of trying to like mold her and conform her into the woman that you wanted her to be. Like, he literally said, I would go for a Lily over a Zanab. And I think that he thought that he could handle the racial differences. I feel like that is something everybody is missing from their conversations about this, is that race has a really big impact on these relationships. Like, he literally said, I go for Lilies, not Zanab's. That tells me everything that I need to know. He goes for white women. He's not used to dating women of color. He thought he could handle it. He thought he would be okay, and now it's in real life and it's something that is impacting him. And I think that he was very childish. I don't think Cole should be on the show. He was too childish. I don't think that you should be penalized because of your family, but I think the fact that his family didn't want to meet her, but they wanted to follow her, I think there were like obvious, like, it was racial. It was very racial. I think those are conversations that we have to have when we talk about it. Like, in season 1, Cameron and Lauren, they had those conversations about race together with her parents. Like, there were conversations with Zanab and Cole. It seemed like that was missing. The whole cutie situation, the way that Zanab experienced her own trauma, her own experience, is the way that she experienced it. We're seeing snippets of things that are happening on camera, but there's so much time that is not on camera. And with the cutie situation, she literally did say what he said. He literally was like, oh, we're gonna have 2 of those. Like, I don't want you to ruin your appetite, right? And she was like, I only had a banana today. And he asked her why, and she was like, oh, you really, basically, you really don't want to know. Like, you already know, but you don't want me to talk about it right now. And he didn't ask her on that. He didn't question her on that, because he knew. You could tell in that interaction that there was more going on. And I feel like a lot of people were like, oh yeah, Cole's just kidding, like, he's just making a joke. He is a grown man, and you know not to make jokes about women's eating habits. That is not okay to do. There is no point in time where someone needs to say, hey, like, are you gonna eat 2 of those? Are you gonna eat 2 of those? That's like ridiculous. And 2 cuties, really? I just feel like he might say things in this very like chirpy, seemingly like funny way, but that doesn't take away from the way that it makes you feel and what he's actually saying. Impact over intent. Even if he intended it to be a joke, it impacted her negatively. And he knew that, and he saw that. And I feel like I'm calling cap that he didn't know that, because we saw them get into it. I think that he literally on screen called her insane, crazy, and bipolar in front of all of us, and then a liar. When she did not lie, she literally, maybe the way that she inflected her tone might have been different than the way that he actually said it, but the words that he said were the words that she relayed it as. And I just feel like, we have to talk about race, about the fact that basically everybody on the cast, all of the women on the cast and some of the men, were like, the things that weren't shown were horrible. And it's his saving grace that they weren't shown. The response of a lot of the world was like, oh, you know what, we're gonna ignore all of the cast, we're gonna ignore all of the women, and we're only gonna listen to Cole. That's ridiculous, because he cried. And I think we have to talk about white tears, and about how white tears have an impact on things, and how people are more likely to believe white people or feel sympathy for white people even when they are wrong. And that was at play here. He made her feel terrible. And whether you feel like she shouldn't feel like that or not, that was his partner, and she felt that way. I think that the whole thing that happened at the altar was a lot, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm not gonna tell Zanab she shouldn't have handled the situation in the way that she felt was best for her. I'm not the one that's in the relationship. She obviously like made that decision. She's a very smart woman. So she decided to do what was best for her, and I don't think it's fair for anybody to like judge her based on that. These are her experiences. This is her life. Those were my thoughts on Love is Blind season 3. I literally don't want to talk about it again until season 4. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the season and what I've said in this video. Make sure to stay respectful and kind in the comments. If not, you will be blocked. I do not play. You will be blocked. And if you guys want to see more videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, babes.